Hello, and welcome to the Legendarium Green Team. I'm Jingles90, and with me today are Little Red Book
Hello.
and Texas Blade.
Hey,
Today, we are discussing Book 2 of the Alex Verus series, Cursed, by Benedict Jakka. Let's start with some non-spoiler feelings about this book before we move into a spoiler discussion. Texas?
gosh, you think of it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's third or fourth time I think I've been through it and everything, and uh, sh- yeah, it's one of the good. It's as good as better than the first one maybe by just a little bit, and it's a good solid book, I'd say.
So I felt that this was a nice progression in world building, and there's several scenes where I feel like Alex and Luna are really getting a grip on what their relationship needs to be. Because in the first book, it kind of feels like, ooh, a little bit lovey story, but not quite. And so that gets resolved, and there's a lot of really great foreshadowing for the rest of the book or the rest of the series in this book. So
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'd agree. I like this one a lot more than the first one. I think the first one kind of it felt very what you'd expect out of an urban fantasy detective noir type book, right? But this one still feels kind of like that, but I liked all of the pieces in this one a lot more, especially with how they're involve magical creatures and just kind of seeing more of the world as far as like how magic is used and the way everyone chooses to utilize their different forms of magic. And I also think, like the imbued items and the focuses are a lot more interesting in this one than the cube really was in the first. The Fate Weaver's pretty cool, but I like the
uh,
use of the monkey's paw in this one.
we get the Mist Cloak coming in again, which is also an viewed item technically.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I was thoroughly entertained, and I also felt like Verus just has a lot of range as a character. And we can get a little bit more into that later. But I just, the guy can be incredibly somber or incredibly dry-witted, or or he can be incredibly sentimental or um,
snarky gets
snarky.
pretty snarky near
Yeah,
the end.
yeah, it just like he just goes all over the place and it makes him feel very real for me as a person instead of being like this perfect just like this perfect hero detective um which I really appreciate. So I think
I
where
have
I
one more thing to say about that.
oh yeah.
Okay, so I like the way Cinder's character develops in this story,
Mm.
Mhm.
and I also like the fact that Alex doesn't always have the answer. He has to have the answer pointed out to him by other characters. So like, "Well, why didn't you think about this?" Or whatever, you
Yeah.
know? And he's like, "Oh, I should have thought of that."
Yeah,
He's
he's
not
fallible, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think, some of that might be a little bit of a detriment when it comes to like the actual plotting of the book. Like I think you'll see in my summary. I find there's a lot of very seemingly, broken up pieces at the beginning of this. Like it kind of feels incredibly scattered. But I do love how it kind of all narrows together and comes a little bit more into a fuller picture by the end. Also, part of that is nothing in this book really surprises me. I don't think. Did you feel surprised by anything?
Nope. It like I said, I've been through it a few times, and it's hard to think back to the first time when I first listened to it. So I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I was surprised this time. I guess I didn't notice the first time I listened to it. The two-pronged attack of our villain
Okay.
on I don't know if I can say more
Sure.
without
Yeah.
spoilers.
but you spoil that there's a villain. I mean, we're
Yeah.
just
No.
oh my gosh.
I mean, I think that our spoiler sensitive
Hmm.
people, I don't think I can say that without until we get past this spoiler.
Yeah.
That's fair. But yeah, I think I say I wasn't overly surprised by anything in this book, but I don't really see that as a detriment because it was just so thoroughly entertaining. Just a lot of really cool action scenes, a lot of really cool magic being used, playing with that magic. Just yeah, awesome.
What I really I I 100% agree with you there. But what I also appreciate is that when he writes emotional scenes, they feel like earned,
They absolutely do. Yeah.
unlike a certain other person who writes urban fantasy, where you're like,
we
where the heck is this coming from?
we made it 6 minutes, folks. We got a dressing comparison right away.
But, there's so many scenes when it's emotional, like, he really you can see his internal struggle with how he feels about Luna is so well written.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like sometimes he's not even really aware of what his emotions actually are at any
Right.
given moment.
Well, there's a chink also in emotions in this book, or not a chink. So there's some funny business emotionally going
Yeah,
on
there's
here.
that too.
There is that, but I'm thinking of times when that's not necessarily involved. Like he is a person who can be emotionally reactionary, but then he can also step back and start, critically thinking about why he might feel this way. And he also shows some he's able to actually start looking at, what other people why they might be feeling the way they feel, and he can start taking that into assessment a little bit better than maybe some other characters can. I'm thinking of in particular like Luna. He spends a lot of time thinking about why Luna feels the way she does, and I think he does it in a really healthy way instead of just getting mad at her right off the bat. Not that there's not some of that, but there are reasons. So
They have don't wanna say a fabulous argument, that sounds weird, but, that argument that they have in this book is just you can see it. It just makes so much sense for who those 2 characters are,
mhm,
why they would have that argument, and why they had it in the way they did.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm done. We can
Do we have any other non-spoiler stuff we want to add before we jump into the next section?
not me.
Nope. All right. Well, let's do a quick summary and where to start with this one because it is all over the place. Things haven't quite gone back to normal after the Fate Weaver incident, like Alex Verus stated at the end of the last book. Luna is now his apprentice, and people are paying more attention to him in his shop. There's the discovery of a dead Barghest in the industrial district. Luna has a new friend named Martin, who reeks of bad guy the second he walks in the door. An imbued monkey paw selects Martin to grant him 5 wishes. No way that's going to go wrong later. A woman named Meredith, an unaligned enchantress, is attacked by a construct outside of Alex's shop. Oh, and a light mage named Barthis would like Alex to do a little work for him. What do all of these seemingly desperate events have in common? Quite a bit, actually. Namely, someone has discovered a way to harvest magical energy from magical creatures. The problem is, if a magical creature doesn't have magic, it finds itself very dead. Barthis wants that power, and he wants a big monster to siphon from. And who's the biggest magical creature we know? That's right, Arachne is in danger. Martin and Meredith are henchmen of Barthis, and their job is to divide Luna and Alex emotionally and infiltrate Arachne's lair to use her as a harvest. Unfortunately, they succeed, and it is then up to Alex, Saunders, and Cinder to raid Barthis' manor and save Luna, Rachel, and Arachne. Cinder does some cool fire stuff, Saunders does some cool time stuff, and Alex does some cool diviner stuff. Martin does some bad monkey paw stuff, and Meredith does some running away stuff. Barthis does some cool ice stuff, but ultimately finds himself the shredded stuff on the floor of a dragon den. And Luna and Alex make up, and they make their master apprentice relationship official through the Light Council. Alex says everything is fine again, but we all know that's probably a lie.
Temporarily, maybe.
Temporarily, yeah.
Yeah, for the year, I think these books often are like once a year, right? Or that's Dresden at least, usually.
Yeah.
This is 5 months after the last book.
Yeah.
The
The
first book.
escalation's really
Yeah.
fast.
And as you go through the series, it gets closer and closer, and I think that the last 2 books are only, like, a couple days apart.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't try to
that
do
sounds about right.
this is the yearly big thing that they do. Um,
Just love the scene where he's sitting there talking to all of his customers, and he's like, "No, I don't have wands, I don't sell spells, I don't do I can't give you an invitation to Hogwarts." He's just so annoyed with his customers because he's
I
famous.
love that scene. It reminded me so much of Good Omens,
Yeah, I had that.
where
Yeah.
Aziraphale is like telling them that they can't purchase any of the books, and everyone's just confused why he has a bookstore then. It's like this
Good
is
time.
beautiful.
It also reminds me of Jonathan Strange because Mr. Norrell also doesn't let
Oh,
anybody read his books.
yeah, that's right.
Anyway, that was a
So,
little off topic.
yeah, well, kind of, but
It's
not totally.
magic oriented.
Yeah.
So I did write down an actual quote, and this is where Alex is being very serious and somber. He said, I realized if I got into a fight with them, meaning Cinder and Rachel, without being willing to kill them, they would most likely kill me. So that is kind of, we had this really funny scene where he's talking about, don't, dealing with his customers. And then you have this really very serious moment where he's like, I don't want to kill them. So I can't get in a fight with them, which
Yeah.
is true. It's like if you ever taken a self-defense, like a concealed weapons permit type thing, they're like, don't draw the gun unless you're willing to shoot.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was a really cool, the breadth of the character work in this book. And this silly little fun action-packed book, but it does have some real things there.
Yeah, but it's got some real weight, right?
A
Because
very real book with excluding magic, I think.
I like he's like, I'm not too cool for guns. Like all the other mages are, but I'm not. It's like
yeah, I guess we can jump into that. The use of guns in this story is kind of amazing. Yeah, why wouldn't they continue to use guns even if there's magic involved? Like it's just a quicker method of doing what they need to do. And it sounds like it's also like not an easy thing for mages to necessarily take care of or
Well,
handle when they're not aware.
he's yeah. When they're not aware is the key. He says like
Yeah.
it's like the reasons that they poo-poo guns is because if they know it's there, it's not an issue. But once they do know, once if they don't know, then yeah, it's as good as anything.
Yeah.
as Alex says, they're really, really good at killing people. Like if that's all you're trying to do, really, really good at it. And
Yep.
he gets attacked by a rocket launcher.
I that was doing another real quick comparison. That was the most Dresden, one of the two most Dresden things of this entire book was the "oh, you got to be kidding me" when he first saw the.
The second one being him mouthing off at the end.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. That's
He just does it better. I'm sorry. Texas. I know that you just love Dresden. Jakka does it so much better. He just does it so much better.
well. He's more conservative in his use of it. I think is why it might feel so better. Because I mean, in Dresden, it's every chance he gets, whereas in this, it's like the climax is him lipping off to the powerful person. But that's what that thing is. Like Dresden is always against the powerful people, so he's always flipping off. Oh no, I don't know. I guess he's just flipping off to everyone he can.
Yeah, I feel like he's a man made of quips. Like
Yeah.
that's like what is his his character response
Hey,
to anyone
Uh-huh.
anything. But Verus, Verus has just so much going on. I mean, he'll quip when he feels like quipping. He'll be incredibly serious and talk to people in very serious ways, like when he has that conversation with Cinder. But he'll also like he probably won't even talk to some people at all. Like the scene where he and Saunders are in the warehouse and he can see into the future and see that someone's planting a bomb
Mm.
and he like no qualms whatsoever. He acknowledges that he's just tired of being shot at. He just goes and kills the guy. Like he just goes and triggers the bomb while the guy's still
Yeah.
standing next to it.
I think it's very fair to use someone's own weapon against them.
Yeah.
It's kind of digging your own pit kind of thing.
I 100% agree. That was
Yeah.
totally fair. He's like, I was just tired of it. I was just so tired of it.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I don't blame you.
I don't
Yeah.
either.
Yeah. It's like in the weird moral dilemma of having magical powers where you can see someone's planting a bomb to prepare to
Kill you.
kill you. Yeah. I don't know if
Preemptive
there's really
action.
one at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So back to the thing I was surprised by. I didn't notice this. I don't know why I didn't notice this, or if I just forgot it because I think I read the whole series in like 3 weeks. The first time. The way that Balthazar, I don't do names, guys. Whatever the
Belfast.
Barthas, yeah.
Barthas. The way Barthas basically hired two people to seduce Luna and Alex so he could get to Arachne. I was like, that's actually really clever.
I wouldn't be surprised if I did not see that coming um, when the first time I went, because I don't know if there's that much. It is nice and roundabout.
Hmm.
Um,
I think
and
I think what I liked about that was or sorry, Belfast. Yeah, Belfast is the name. I think what I really like about that is Martin kind of comes in and you can tell that the guy is just not good. Um, I, there's not really much there other than this monkey paw chooses him and he chooses to just completely ignore Alex on every single level. And he's with Luna, and we can either assume that Alex is jealous that he's with Luna, or he actually just has a bad read on this guy, which is also incredibly believable because Alex has been around a lot of bad guys.
Right.
well, he's obviously an idiot because he's not listening to
Yeah.
Well,
anyone's.
and Alex
Yeah.
just doesn't know how he feels. And he
Hmm.
even, when he's talking to Arachne, when he's leaving Arachne's lair, the first time he talks to Arachne, I think it is. Um, and she's like, you're not really being a master to her, and she's not really being an apprentice. And he realizes he has three different feelings towards her: apprentice, friend, or possible girlfriend. He just doesn't know how he feels,
Yeah.
which makes sense because he's been alone most of his life since leaving Richard, and here's this
Yeah.
attractive young lady, and even though she's cursed, which is kind of a drawback,
Yeah. Yeah.
just a little one. Um, and so he's working through his feelings, and so of course he's also used to being the only person that she really trusts, and so here's this other guy, and she
Mm.
trusts him, and so that whole the way they deal with that in the story works really really well for me anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, and I think with her especially, like he's very good at manipulating. Martin's very good at manipulating Luna's emotions. He's very aware of what will make her feel comfortable around him. And I think we see even, later in the book, like she knows that she was deceived in a big way, and she feels
Mhm.
very, very guilty for that deception, and for letting it get to her, especially because it almost cost her, someone who she finds very dear, their life. But what's nice about all of this is it's never really explicitly stated, right? This is all
Mhm.
just Alex's observations and his understandings of Luna. But yeah, so I think like Martin, like he does come off as, a really
Smarmy.
questionable, yeah, smarmy, but also kind of charming guy. He plays the buffoon really well, because he doesn't necessarily know. He doesn't mind having the monkey's paw, and he has some grasp on what it does and how it should be used, but he also just is ignorant and has no idea what kind of depths he's getting himself into. So
The fact that you even have to explain the concept of the monkey's paw.
I think this might be the first time I've heard of the monkey's paw when I first did this one. Then it started
oh really?
popping up all over the place soon after. Yeah, like on podcasts and stuff, talking about the monkey paw curly. I'm like, what?
No, it's a
Yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I've since learned that. Yeah, it's a thing. I'm like, oh, interesting. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the first time I saw the monkey's paw.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Oh, that's
I'm
what
Or
curious.
that was actually one of Chesky's. Chesky couldn't join us tonight, but he had a question about it if this was our first time encountering the monkey's paw. This was not my first time. I've heard of the. I think back in middle school, I read the original story, The Monkey's Paw.
is that the Lovecrafters?
It's not Lovecraft. Um,
Maybe Edgar Allan Poe, but maybe not. Just a minute, I'll look it up.
I can't remember. But anyway, that was my first encounter with it. So it's one of those enchanted things that I've always kind of known about, at least since I was 12 or so.
W. Jacobs,
Yeah, there we go.
1902. There's also movies about it too.
Yeah. So a Lovecraft predecessor, even.
Yeah.
Did Lovecraft do one, or is his style just very similar to Lovecraft? And I got him blind because I remember hearing a Monkey Falls story. It may have just been on a podcast or something that had all sorts of that kind of stuff on it. So
It's a
Yeah.
very creepy story.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it's I would call it horror.
yeah, yeah. It's in the
And
same bag as Lovecraft.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think especially from the era it was
Mhm.
created. I think it's a very easy thing to lump in with all of that. But as far as I know, Lovecraft never wrote a story
Okay,
with one.
I'll disassociate that now.
You should go read the original.
It's a
It's
I'm
really
pretty
good.
I'm pretty sure I listened to someone read it on a podcast or something. There was like a podcast that did those type of stories. So because
yeah,
it's
this
the
family is trapped
the f-
in a dining room with the literal monkey's paw.
yeah,
Anyway.
were they it, doesn't matter.
What I've always found creepy, which we never actually get to see the monkey's paw doing much in this, but in the original, the monkey paw, the fingers would go down whenever, um,
A wish was
whenever
made.
a wish was made,
Yeah.
and that was always the creepiest part to me. Was like that it's listening to you, and it knows exactly. um, but that being said, I do love the way that it's used for those first two wishes
Mhm.
because it does like, oh, this guy actually knows how to manipulate this thing. Like, I don't
Does
know if
he though? He
yeah,
thinks
like
he
he
does,
thinks he does.
but
And he
that's kind of how
clearly,
it's supposed to work, right? It's like it
yeah,
makes the first two are free, and then it's like now I got you.
yeah, which he
There's
proves abundantly clear with his fourth wish. That was one of the coolest fight scenes I've ever read, I think.
Yeah.
uh,
So let's see. His first wish was to be allowed to touch Luna.
It was to be protected from magic.
for
Yeah.
magic.
Oh, from magic. Okay.
Mhm. And the second
And
was to
then
be protected from everything else. And the third thing is he wants to take Alex's magic,
Okay.
uh,
which his theory
is
that
that it wants to take.
it is that it wants to take, but his wishes really aren't aligned with this theory at all. I mean, we don't ever get to see how he words his curses, I
Yeah.
guess.
We get to see the Verus's.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
the yeah. And then and then I do like the part where Alex is reading all these different stories about the monkey paw in different iterations, like the research on it, and like nobody knows how it works, and basically everybody says it ends up bad. Like it always ends up bad.
Mhm. There's never a good way for this
But the
to
people in
end.
the stories are stupid. Don't you understand? They just don't get it.
Oh my gosh, when he said we're smarter now. Humans are smarter
Yeah.
now. I'm like, no, we're not. We're really not.
Humans are always the same. Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it turns out that his question or his requests that he's making for the wishes are just really straightforward sentences. Like there's no sort of like clauses or guidelines that he's trying to set forth. He's just asking away. Oh man. But yeah, watching him go mad from taking Alex's power was so cool. And just like I don't know, just the idea of yeah, you can't just have this power right away because you don't know how to handle it at all. And then simultaneously getting the Alex like I don't know how to live without this anymore. Like
Right?
I just have no idea what I'm
Mm.
doing.
And then at the very end, he kind of Martin feels that too. If you
Yeah.
Yeah, I
that's
saw
the
it all. I
type of
saw it all.
notice.
This is it right. I saw it all.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Which yeah, is the monkey paw evil? I kind of think it is. I think if imbued items get to have minds of their own, then I think
Too
they
bad
have
we
the
never see it
potential to
again.
be good or evil. Oh yeah, I'm sure. It
Yeah,
doesn't go
never again.
get clicked into it's not like it just randomly appeared right on this one anyway, right?
Well, it lives
Uh,
with him.
Yeah.
And then it appears when somebody it likes shows up in the shop. Is basically what it happened.
Yeah.
I like how he's like, "Okay, so the first person who took it, he committed suicide," or whatever. But it's been with him for 3 years and it's appeared 3 times on a shelf where he didn't put it.
Yeah. And then it showed up and then you could hear it close its case when he didn't take
Ooh.
it the last time.
Yeah. Uh,
I- Okay,
well,
next
like,
time.
Martin like opens it up, right? If I remember correctly, and that's when it kind of
Mhm.
Yeah,
engulfs
and he's
him.
like, "Yeah,
He-
come out, come out."
oh, I guess that's his fifth wish. I guess for it to come. I don't
No,
know. He
no,
doesn't get,
that
or
was
doesn't
No.
even get a
that was
fifth
the
wish.
4th.
He doesn't really get one.
No,
He
he
just
doesn't.
like opens it up and it's like, oh, well, you don't get your fifth wish. You get to come inside instead, or
Right.
something.
He does do so. He says kill Alex, right?
That's
No,
four,
he
right?
Or
Or
Yeah, that's the 4th.
no,
Yeah.
I thought 4 was giving Alex his powers back.
No, he
oh,
just says take it back, or something like that. So
Yeah.
maybe that
I
was
guess I don't know. That could be the I don't know.
I think it has to be the fourth wish, right? Because otherwise, how does that transfer happen?
yeah.
Yeah. We're
What was
talking about very loose magic here.
interesting about it is when he says, "I wish for you to die." Well, Alex is gonna die anyway. Like, at
Mhm.
some point, Alex is gonna die. That's just a thing. And he's like, "Why isn't it working?" He's like, "It is working.
It is working. Yep.
You didn't specify when you wanted me to die." Kind of a
Not to
pointless
mention
thing.
because Verus is the host, he gets protection from it in a way. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so it's like, yes, he will die, but I'm not going to do it right now because he's my host. I like him. He feeds me.
He feeds me people like you.
And the world is not at a loss.
No.
Um,
No.
not there at
As
any rate.
as far as it being evil, I just think it is.
Yeah.
That's like saying, "Is pain evil?" Pain's not evil. It just is. It's a thing.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's good, and sometimes, like, if you touch something hot and you makes you yank your hand away, or if you're horribly burned and you just suffer for days and days and days, because I don't know if you've ever had a really bad burn, but it's very, very painful. And then it's kind of seems bad because you're not really.
Well, it's telling you that you need to be careful because that burn also means you're damaged,
Yeah.
and you could do more damage if it just went away. You could do more damage to yourself.
Okay, so maybe cancer would be a better example of pain just being
Yeah.
redundant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where my feelings were at the start, especially because I think Alex does give some brief description of, imbued items just being things that do things, and you can't really they don't really control that in any way. I don't know. The shroud or whatever that comes out and consumes Martin at the end makes me feel a little bit differently about this thing in particular from being just is. I don't know. That could just be my misunderstanding of imbued items, though.
So, like, with imbued items, like they have like a life and all. And I guess like the question is kind of how they get that, and it makes me think of. And I have not gone back to this series way back before I knew better. Like just after coming off of like I guess Harry Potter or something. The series that I used to like was the Sword of Truth series.
Oh, sure.
I did not know better. Not this is before I learned about Wheel of Time, and then I realized, oh, this is like a real good series. Is like, but they do have their, like all magical items kind of things require a sacrifice of a human, effectively. And which is an interesting concept, I think. Which I don't know where he got it, but apparently he gets most of his stuff from different places. But
He
don't we
probably
all?
read a lot of fairy tales.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, very true. Yeah.
So I want to get back to the action part
Yeah.
just a little bit. Um, when they're when he's invading the sanctum, I
Mhm.
love the part where he's describing how he's like, I don't shoot well. I do it occasionally, blah 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 blah. And he talks about how he aims, and he's like, I held up the gun, nothing happened. He's like talking about looking into the future.
Uh
So then
huh.
I switched the safety off, held up the gun, I missed, and then he holds up the gun again. He's like, "Okay, there we go." It's like he's not
Perfect.
even
Yep. Move
but
it to the right.
yeah, the fact that he's like, he forgot to turn off the safety, so when he holds up the gun, nothing happens when he pulls the trigger in his future vision. I just thought that was
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
hilarious.
He doesn't think about what he needs to do. He thinks about or like he doesn't try to think about it until he checks sight. He's like, oh, it's not going to work,
Because the safety's
and
on.
then he sees what he does. He may even be seeing what he does to make it work,
Mhm.
and he doesn't have to think about what do I need to do. It's what will I do to make it work.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a little
Yeah.
bit backwards.
Also, I kind of love how that shows off the limitations of his diviner powers, though. Is that like because earlier in I think it was in the rocket scene, he uses like a pebble, or no, it's a
No,
cinder.
it's when he's sneaking in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's with Cinder. He throws a
Oh,
marble, and he has like super precise shots when he uses small objects because he has full control of those. But with like the gun, he can't determine where the bullet is actually going to have a trajectory unless he tries a future where he pulls the trigger. So he has to adjust multiple times, which I thought was really cool.
So I was thinking about when you were when he was sneaking in. He's like, I threw the rock and the guard went down the side. He goes, the cool
Yeah.
thing about this is I don't even have to know why it's going to work. I just know that it does work.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
do that.
It kind of feels like I don't know if Jakka has any thought about this, but it kind of seems like when he describes Verus's fight choreography, it feels more like drunken master style than it does like anything else, because he's just kind of doing stuff to get whatever outcome he needs, right? So he sometimes looks like he's stumbling, and he sometimes looks like he's bending backwards in awkward positions, but he's just doing the things that he needs to do, not the stuff that would make sense in an actual fight, which I thought was cool.
Right. So back to Cinder and Alex when they're sitting on the hill. Cinder, first of all, you realize throughout the book that Cinder's just not some big dumb jerk.
Mm.
He's like really insightful in a lot of respects. And he looks at Alex and he says, "You're a predator. When we get done with this, you're going to be alive. Everyone else against you is going to be dead." Because Alex doesn't think of himself that way at all.
And Rachel doesn't think of him that way,
Yeah,
which is
but
interesting.
he's pretty freaking ruthless.
But that makes him. He's good at defending himself, but he's not. I'd say a predator goes out with trying to find victims. He's just trying to get by. So
I
I
think
don't
he
know.
I think he disguises that he is trying to get by. But I don't think you just try to get by raiding a manor of a huge,
Well,
yeah,
okay.
right?
He's going on the offensive there,
Yeah,
but he's doing that because he's protecting his friend.
yeah.
Mm,
He
But
didn't.
he's also
I'm gonna
incredibly
disagree.
lethal.
I'm gonna disagree. I really do think he is. A part of the reason why I think that is because I'm being informed by the rest of the series, but I really do see Predator. I really do.
Yeah, I only have what I've read so far to work with, but I I do see where you're coming from, Texas. But I do find him to be a little bit more complex than a guy who's just trying to keep his head down. And I think he does. I don't think he's totally opposed to doing these things as much as he likes to like convince us that he doesn't. I think especially like there were probably multiple ways he could have handled the mine and the bomber in the warehouse, right? But he chose the one that was final. Um, Especially
Like
like
I said,
yeah, when he sees a bunch
fitting.
of different creatures. Yeah, and I think that's the same when he decides to go into the manor. Like he knows what the outcome of this is probably going to be, and he's totally okay with that.
Well, he's already been attacked, and they already
Yeah,
tried to kill him multiple times, and they are actively killing Arachne. So it's not like he decided to just on a whim, or it's like I need something from this wizard, so I'm gonna go kill him. He's defending Arachne
yeah, that's
in
fair.
this case. It's a very proactive, but it's really the only choice he has unless he wants to just let her die.
Yeah,
Um, his only option is what the other uh, uh, seers or blanking on the word do in the first book. All the other diviners vanish when the Weaver comes up. That's the only like way he'd be less predatory is just hide.
yeah,
Um,
Which he doesn't
and
do. I mean,
yeah,
I would say he's a mama bear.
yeah, yeah.
that's fair. Yeah,
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Which
Or some bears technically you could say
are
are predators. They're
that's
omnivores though,
that's
but
that's why I said he's a mama bear, because I do think he's a predator.
I think there are like non-predatory animals that will chase after you if you mess with their young. I'm pretty sure.
Geese.
He's a goose.
he's a
Geese are
goose.
geese are really mean, by the way. I don't know if
They
you've
are.
ever been around geese.
They're miserable.
Swans are too, by the way.
Little jerks. We have a bunch of geese on campus that always get in the way of our drivers, and it's just absolutely a pain in the butt dealing with them because they won't budge. Then they'll attack you if you try to get them to move.
That reminds me of the
Awful.
comic guy honking at the goose and the goose honking back and pops open his car door and the noose puts on brass knuckle. The goose puts on brass knuckles.
Yeah. I just love that we compared Alex to a goose.
It's- I think it's apt. It's high quality comparison there.
So the other part I wanted to talk a little bit about is because I think we've covered everything that Chesky had, right?
Yeah, except for we could talk about Saunders at some point. I think before we do that, though, I kind of want to get back to the duo of Martin and Meredith. We
Hmm.
haven't really talked about that whole
Yeah,
aspect of
Meredith
the
for
story yet.
sure. We have not talked about Meredith
Yeah.
whatsoever.
So do we want? Yeah. What are our thoughts on Meredith?
I hate her.
Fair. All right.
She is just such she's a one-trick pony, and she basically she gets hired to seduce men. I I don't like her. There's nothing to her as a character except do the job or run away. Although I do find it really hilarious when Luna slaps her with a curse as she as she's running away. It won't kill her,
I
I
don't
don't
think.
think. Anyway,
That was good.
your thoughts?
It makes me think of soothers and riders from Mistborn.
Right.
And the people say, "Oh, it's a very questionable power to deal with emotion." But when that's the only thing you can do, it's like, I mean, I'd say there's good and bad ways to use it. Like, for I guess the best way to use that is just make sure people aren't mad at you. She does a little bit more with that, so I'd say that's yeah, she's not a good person.
Yeah.
But then she's a mage in a very, I mean, in some ways, she's a lot like Alex, very low power magic that can only do a few very things, and she probably gets herself into trouble.
Isn't it interesting that her only relationships that she's had are short and they're all with politically powerful people?
It makes a lot of sense. She's trying to make the most of her power,
And she
and
lives
but
on the
no one likes to be manipulated, and that's pretty much what her only cards are to manipulate you.
Yeah.
And I imagine it could be an addictive thing to know that you can, maybe you do just a little bit because like that's all I can do, and I want to make sure they're not mad at me or something like that. Then I want to make sure they like me just a little bit, and it's just like, I want them to, and yeah, I'm sure it can be a very slippery slope if you have that ability.
Especially if you learn to use it as a defense mechanism. It's going to
It'd
be,
be very much, yeah. Well, your upbringing too would just be a big thing. Like if you have a hard, tough life, then you might decide to use it
yeah.
to, and go to your head, corrupt you, and then you try to, first you just try to get above water, and then you're like, well, how high above water can I get effectively? I guess.
Yeah.
So
Make sure I never drown.
yeah.
I think I just got to assume here this is not the last time we see Meredith. I think
Oh,
there's some
the curse
interesting.
kills her. She's dead. Dead.
Yeah.
Gone. Never see her again.
I do like the way that Verus kind of, or that Jakka kind of sets her up for the future, especially because in Fated we got to see some really fun writing techniques with the manipulation of a Bitherax and the Fate Weaver while Alex is holding it. I think we got to see a lot of that same kind of getting practiced here with Meredith manipulating Alex emotionally.
And
Where
Luna
then
probably.
and
I
Luna
don't know.
probably.
So
I
that's
think
that's
so.
one thing I'd like to say because, like, I mean, some of like, yeah, at least for that one scene when they're together, there's got to be some manipulation there, or is it believable that Luna would be acting like she is? Because I feel like she's
Yeah,
putting more faith in Martin than Alex, who she's known a lot longer. But you only see her and Meredith together for that one time, so you can't just necessarily say. But then again, she probably wants more friends, which is understandable.
I will say I don't think Luna's jealousy is totally fabricated
Hmm.
by
Mhm.
by Meredith because she does choose to, touch her on her way out, right? To get some of that curse on her. And I don't think that would be necessarily something. Well, maybe it would be. I honestly have a hard time gauging Luna as a mature character. I don't know if that's the right word.
She's
Um,
not.
yeah, just because we haven't really seen her in too many situations where, the curse has not been an all-encompassing problem of hers, or she may be potentially manipulated by two other people throughout this entire book.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to say exactly what her actions would be when she's a little more free to make decisions on her own.
So my read on that scene is that Meredith was giving, because like I said in the first book, it's kind of like, will they, won't they? It was giving Luna's jealousy that was there an extra push.
Which seems unfair considering she's kind of started the other relationship, but
Yeah, but people are complicated, and that is something that
Yeah.
yeah. People do unfair things all the time.
I was gonna say,
Um,
because I remember breaking up with this guy, and I was starting to date this other guy, and he was starting to date this girl, and both of us were still kind of like giving the other person a side eye for it. It was complicated, but I was 20. Guess how old Luna is right now? She's about 20.
Yeah.
So it makes
yeah,
total sense.
or mid-20s, right?
No, 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 no. She's very young. She's 20
She
or
was 21
21.
in the last book, right, or
Okay,
something like that?
then she's like so she's 21.
Yeah, okay, so
There's a
that's not
huge
that's not
difference.
mid-20s.
No.
Yeah, that's not mid-20s. I guess Alex is about 25 or 26, I think. They don't state it outright, but I think the first book gives you enough in there. I just haven't put it all together, but I'm pretty sure it's like, because he was like, what, 16 when Richard gets him, and then it was like 4 years after that
I
that
don't
was,
know.
yeah, I
I
don't
was
know.
told there would be no
Yeah,
math.
maybe 7.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I've never really thought about Alex's age because I don't think it's ever outright said. I just kind of thought he was older. I would have put him in his, you know,
I thought he was 30.
mid 30s. Yeah.
Well, but yeah, I mean, I guess I'm thinking about this because like he's got to, yeah, I don't know, like because if he's 30 and Luna's 21, I don't know. I guess that's still within the 10 years, which is, I don't
She's
know.
of age.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if Leo can do it, Alex can do it.
Oh boy.
the
The green team of the Legendarium does not condone.
I mean, anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about is how very, very cool it is in the first book when they're in Elsewhere. The way he gets out of Elsewhere is by walking through his past.
Yeah.
And the way Luna has to get out is by walking through her fears. And ultimately, at the end of her journey, she has to accept her curse as part of herself. And that's how she gets to get out. I just love the side by side, that aspect of going into
Yeah.
this magical place that is totally a portal fantasy, Chesky. You're not here. Tell me it's not.
Can't defend. But yeah, I do like that the dream world works for this, especially the when she makes the realization that she doesn't have her curse while she's in here because the curse is already just wandering around on its own inside of her. That was cool. And turning it into like a monster that's predatory towards her. It's a it's an interesting development. So I do that. There's a lot of tragedy in all that scene though. When Alex realizes that Luna probably hates him, like legitimately hates him, not like a this is just a mood thing, because he's making her face the discomfort of not being able to live in her idealized life, and then yeah, accepting that the curse has to be a part of her always, and she is not happy about that when she makes that realization. Very tragic.
The thing with her parents, because she has basically run away from home because her parents won't believe her. That whole scene with her parents and Alex is like, it's not real, it's not real. And then the monster that is her curse murders her parents. That aren't really her parents, but it was just,
kind of her mind thing. You know,
yeah,
in some ways it has murdered because he left them
right.
so they wouldn't be murdered by it, but they're dead to her because of that, effectively.
Yeah. But that part was just really upsetting to me. How he uses his divination to scout is also just a really fun part of this book. I just enjoy
Yeah, yeah. And through the different options.
it. Mm-hmm.
I guess, yeah, so we cover Chesky's last thing. Well, his last two things. We'll talk about the dragon at the end, because I have some theories. Saunders' time magic is really cool. I really
Yeah.
liked
Yep.
that's going to be the phrase that I apparently use this entire episode. It's really cool. Like, I love how he can like manipulate time to look back at events, and that how he can slow down time in the final scene was spectacular. Saunders is one of those characters I don't really think about much until he's on page, and then I really enjoy him like
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
Such a he's such a sweet kid.
Yeah.
indeed.
I do like what we're kind of seeing in his development as a character of this real division of his code, desperately wanting to accept the Light Council as what it is at face value and trying to be allegiant to them always, but also understanding when someone's doing really bad stuff. Like his entire dilemma with Belthus and Belthus using light mage
Security.
mercenaries,
Yeah.
yeah, security was, I think, a really nice little touch because he's right. They are, on some level, all these people probably think that Belthus as Light Council is probably a good guy. Not really understanding what he's doing. Maybe they might be. I could be totally wrong, but and I think it's a good reflection on what how Saunders is feeling. Like he obviously knows Alex is in some level on some level in the right. He knows that they need to stop Belthus, but at the same time, he does understand that you know the Lake Council's given him all that he has at this point.
Well, the part where he's like, "Well, they're just doing their job," and then Alex is like, "Do you know a spell that'll just knock them all out?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, no." He goes, "Well, I don't," and Cinder doesn't either. By the way, on another funny note, if you're listening to this, reading scenes with both Saunders and Cinder in it
Yes.
breaks your brain.
The beauty of audiobooks.
But yeah, it's more, and that's why I say that Alex is ruthless. Like Saunders really just wants to figure out a way to do everything without anybody getting hurt,
Yeah.
and that's not real life.
Yeah. It does make me wonder what Saunders could do if he was holding the Fate Weaver. Because diviner magic and time magic really aren't that much different. I guess one works more on the physical. This
Yeah,
is
one
going to sound
has
really
more
weird.
physical control, but
Yeah.
he has got the backwards where Verus has the forward, but then you have slowing down time, and I think theoretically, I guess that means he can probably do portal magic on his own,
Yeah.
which I guess didn't talk too much about in this one.
Because Cinder
I
is
guess
the one who does all the gates, right?
yes,
Cinder does all the gates. Yeah. He's got his system worked out. Yeah. Cinder really grew on me for this for this one as well.
he's just muscle in the first one. Now you get a little bit more. You can actually see him.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how he and Rachel play out against Verus in the next one. Because
No,
again, just
they're never
assuming they're
going to show
there.
up again.
Yeah,
Gone,
just
gone, gone.
making these really strong
They're
assumptions.
just there to start him off, a little bit of backstory for him, and that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Never again, because we really don't really get to see much of Rachel this or Delia this time around. We only get to see really Cinder's perspective of her and Alex's relationship, which makes that conversation even more potent.
And what we do get to see of her is really, really scary.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think that blackness was?
Oh, I don't know. I bet someone's not handling their past very well. um, are- have we seen any examples of possession? Yeah, right. With the Fate Weaver, that was a form of possession. I find it really creepy that she has a really happy dead person in her mind all the time. Uh, that seems unfortunate.
Well, what's her face? I can't remember her name, but she shows up in Alex's elsewhere without Rachel. So she's just like a spirit roaming around in elsewhere.
Roaming around. That's
Yeah.
true, but she seems
Well,
to be
it's
spending a
it's
lot of
his
time with.
elsewhere, so she's kind of part of his past,
Yeah,
and so I think that's how she's kind of able to make it there.
they interact
Um,
together.
but oh yeah, what is her name?
I love her little happy sidekick ghost.
Yeah.
Shireen. That's it.
What
Oh
was
yeah,
it?
Shireen.
Shireen.
Green. Yeah. Who had a really rough end,
Mm.
if I remember correctly from the first
Yes.
book.
Yes, she does.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's another
I
sad
don't think
thing.
we quite get her end in that one. We just know she did end.
Yeah.
No,
I thought it was pretty explicit what happened
That
to her.
was he doesn't know. He only learned like in first book that he suspected very hard that she was dead, and then there's what's his name,
The other guy.
the other guy,
Yeah.
that's his dream creation, so that's not really him because he's dead too.
Okay.
So there were some things implied there, but he doesn't know that. So I guess maybe spoilers, but yeah, that's not necessarily what happened.
Try to see if I can find his name. Tobruk.
Brooke, yeah.
You wanted to talk about the dragon.
The dragon. The dragon's cool.
Yeah.
The dragon is some sort of mother, which I find awesome.
Creator, she
Yeah,
says.
or
But
creator.
creators
Yeah.
are like mothers,
The
yes.
dragon is Athena. It's not
Yeah.
hard, guys.
Nope.
Why is it Athena? Someone enlighten me.
She's the one who turned Arachne into a spider.
Oh, well, okay. Never mind then.
Which
There we
is
go.
interesting. I guess dragons weave. I'd
And
like to see that.
yeah.
But
Anyway, Athena and
I
her
guess
got
dragons
into
might have a human form in this, though. Who knows?
she's a goddess. I'm sure she can show up however she likes.
However she
Yeah.
wants. She's just choosing to chill in a cave deep down underground.
I don't think the cave is really deep down underground.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
I
think so
think
either.
she's
It's like
got her own little domain.
I think she
Yeah.
might have to
Thing.
portal somewhere to get there.
yeah. So Athena got into a weaving competition with Arachne, and there was insults and stuff, and Athena got mad and turned Arachne into a spider. So that's why
Got
we
it.
chose Athena.
Because Arachne's like, yeah, I can weave even better than Athena, who I think is the goddess of weaving, and she could weave better than Athena, and Athena didn't like that.
Yep, basically that's it. So that's the dragon's name.
Got it. I do like that she was so massive that she just turned Belthus into Smear. Just one swipe. Yeah, it was a fun addition. I mean, we did for a book
Alex
that
laughing hysterically. He's like, no one ever believes me. I just love that line because I think that happens also in the first book too, right? He wants to
Yeah.
tell someone, you look behind you, and they're like, "Think I'm that stupid?"
yeah.
Well, and also he tells the guy that you better leave, or turn your guns the other direction, and then Cinder blows everybody up.
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
talk about Garrick at all. He's a fun
Oh,
addition.
the
That's what I feel like this book has so much going on just the entire time. Like there's so many different pieces that you can approach the story from. And yeah, like we didn't even talk about Garrick, but I don't know if there really is much to talk about. I did enjoy his and Alex's back and forth, though.
mhm. He's a competent human in a wizard world.
Yep. Also willing to tell the guy to look out. Doesn't seem to actually want Alex dead, which is interesting.
I would like to point out that this book is only 304 pages long.
Yep.
And we've been talking about it for over an hour now.
For over an hour.
Just a little
So
bit.
much happens. So much happens in this book.
Okay,
Good book
predictions.
podcasts are an hour and a half. Let's face it.
So predictions.
Predictions. I guess my overall predictions haven't changed all that much. I failed miserably with the predictions for this one. Taken. Okay. Alex Verus has a particular set of skills. He will find and he will hunt down someone who has kidnapped someone else. I don't know who the kidnapper is at this point. I'm guessing it's probably going to be a light mage kidnapping someone because apparently that's all light mages are good for right now is doing evil. Whereas dark mages seem to just not be around unless they're two random dark mages that have history with Alex.
Well, you got to remember that the light mages have bureaucracy on their side.
Yeah.
So
Play a
there's
little bit more. Yeah. Get a little bit more daring with the way they act out in public.
On their side or in front of them as their screen.
Yeah.
Okay. I
But
think
yeah.
that's probably a good prediction.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, it's all taken.
All of my predictions are just going to be based on the title. And what can I make out of that word? That's
Well,
which cursed does not really fit much of this.
That's one gripe I have about the books is
Yeah.
it's really hard to remember what happened in the book from its title, for a lot of them.
Well, cursed is about Luna. That's why it's cursed.
Cursed, yeah.
Because she's cursed.
Sure.
Yes, it does factor in a lot. And then the Curse of the Monkey's Paw, I guess you could say too.
Yeah.
That has curse as well.
And maybe you could say that the siphoning magic could be a curse kind of thing. I mean, it drives most people crazy until they supposedly figure out how to not go crazy.
Yeah.
Which we didn't mention, but I guess it's a minor thing.
I think I didn't really think about it until now, but I
Yeah,
feel
no,
like the harvesting bit, like it might play bigger roles later, but it felt very MacGuffin-y. Like I don't know if it's really I don't know if it had much value outside of this is the problem presented for this book, right?
then you always need a problem. So,
Yeah, you need a problem to solve, so
And we didn't. I guess another thing, we didn't see Levistus. We just heard about him.
just heard about him. The other one of the three monsters we knew was about to get taken away again. Poor Starbreeze. I just want Starbreeze to live and
It
have
was
fun.
so sad when
She's gone. She's gone. Never seeing her again.
when Alex throws away the wand to protect her.
Yeah.
And then he's like, Cinder's like, well, call up your thingy-majiggy, and where's she? And then his sadness over, like, I not only did I really depend on her, I didn't realize how much I depended on her. I really cared about her, and he's not sad that he's sad that he had to do it, not that he did it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think at least in this book, it seems like this was the book where Alex really figures out that he does depend on people and creatures, and he does have some sort of life that does not revolve around him just being a nobody that hides themselves away.
he's less alone than he.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I guess that really is my prediction. I was kind of joking, but that is my prediction. I think this is going to be our first proper kidnapping detective story for Alex Verus, and I think he's gonna have to do some navigating of that. Anything else anyone wants to add before we close out here?
May I plug my podcast?
Of course, you can.
I have a podcast called Word Less with my co-host Mark. When he's not too busy, then I have other people on, and we cover short science fiction and fantasy novels, and about 45 minutes long per episode.
Nice.
And I'd also like to plug Chesky, since he's not here, where you can listen to all his thoughts about this series, among other things, which is Libermancy.
2 short episodes. Episode way too short.
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Not the one I was on. It was 45 minutes.
45
Very
minutes
specific.
for the last book, right?
Right.
For Risen.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well then, this has been the Green Team of the Legendarium's discussion of Cursed by Benedict Jakka. Please join us on the Legendarium Discord server to continue the discussion. Thanks go to Craig and the Legendarium, and Horizon Brave for starting the Green Team. Intro and outro music is Galactic Damages by Jingle Punks. For Texas Blade and Little Red Book, I'm Jingles. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Good night.
See ya.